Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out to our meeting, our joint meeting with the community board, with Council Member Chris Banks and Council Member Sandy Nurse. We wanted to make sure the community knew about the ballot, the proposals that's going to be on the back of the ballot that a lot of us is not even going to turn over and look at. So we wanted to get the information out to everyone so you know what to look for when you go and vote. Early election starts Saturday, tomorrow, you know. Yeah, tomorrow. So we ask that you tell your friends, your neighbors, if you're part of a TA, homeowners association, we have to get the word out because they're trying to take our power away from us, you know, and we are the ones that know what should be in our communities. We are the ones that take the trains, the buses, and patronize the mom and pop stores and things of that nature. We do not want luxury buildings where our kids and our families can't afford to live in, you know, and that's why and I'm going on a tangent now about the whole Broadway Junction piece, right? We can't have 29 stories, 25 stories, and it's not affordable for the people that were here when it was crime-stricken, when the graffiti was here, when people was getting robbed coming out of Broadway Junction. So we have to educate our family, friends, and the community about this ballot proposal. I appreciate Councilmember Banks, Councilmember Nurse for standing with us as we educate everybody on the proposals. I just ask that you share the link once it's put up about this meeting tonight, about the ballot, so that this way we can get it out to the community. The churches, they need to know. The community centers, the home ownerships. So we have a lot of people in this room right now, like we have Jimmy who's representing State Assemblywoman Nikki Lucas. Thank you very much. We have Senator DeLon's staff, Assembly Member DeLon, we have his representative as well in the audience. So without further ado, I'm gonna call up, which one of you guys come up first? Councilwoman Sandy Nurse, and we're gonna talk about the proposal.
We're going to go numerical order. Good evening, everyone. First of all, thank you for making this opportunity for us to talk about this. And thank you for those of you who are here on a Friday night. Really appreciate that. What I'll say, I was doing a conversation earlier today, and land use is going to go through this, and you know, when land use comes before us, it's technical, sometimes too detailed, and really what I'm going to just tell you is the one thing you should take away is that Councilmember Banks and I, as well as my colleagues, know we have a housing crisis. Everybody in this room knows we have a housing crisis. There are many ways to solve this issue. I don't believe these ballot proposals are that way. I think that the way these were developed, it could have been different, and we could have been somewhat better with it, but they chose not to listen. So the main thing that I will say is that in all of the proposals, what it does is remove the council. And it's not about the council losing power for the sake of having power. It's about the fact that a community board makes recommendations, a borough president makes recommendations, but the council creates the enforcement mechanism when it goes through our voting process, right? And so it's kind of like the hammer, and we have the grip to make sure it actually happens, because people can take recommendations all the time and say, we'll consider it, thank you for putting all this time and effort into thinking about this proposal and everything that needs to go with it, and we'll see what we can do. But the council makes it not we'll see what we can do, it is what will happen. And so that's the thing that, for me, is the issue. Because I know how much you all labor in trying to understand these proposals, and you come and you listen to these very technical presentations all the time, and you try as best as you can to educate the community and get them involved, and that's a lot of time, hours, and work, right? We know that you put all that into it, and what does it mean if it's just under advisement, right? And so I hope that all of us in this room can do our best to get the word out, because early voting does start tomorrow, and the way that the proposals are written on the ballot, it's like, do you want faster, affordable housing? Well, yeah, we all do, right? But the problem is there are other ways to achieve that. This council has approved over 142,000 units of housing. There are units of housing that were approved 10 years ago that are just getting the ground broken. So there are other ways to speed up the production of housing that have nothing to do with what these proposals are presenting. And I really wish that, I'm disappointed in what has happened. I really wish that this wasn't a retribution for the fact that the council secured a lot of money out of City for All. Like, we forced the administration to give a lot of money in the City for All. And I think that kind of set off a thing where people just decided, we don't want to have to negotiate with the council. We don't want to have to be held to these terms, and we don't want them to have the power to force us to negotiate. And so this is where we are. And if we lose, there could be real consequences here. And we have done our best to get projects, even projects that HPD presents to us that will be on public land. We have done our best to make sure that those income bands and the rents for those units are actually what works for this community, and that we get more apartments that actually you can fit a family in, right? Like, you cannot fit a growing family into a 2-bedroom city-subsidized apartment. It's ludicrous. It's insane. They are focused on producing a lot of units, and we are focused on producing a lot of units, but making the quality of living in that space worth living in. And like, what is a building, what is a unit that's gonna get people out of railroads and cramped in these apartments into something new they can afford, they can grow in, they can have other people in their family at different phases of life be in there with them. And so we lose that. So I'm gonna stop, because I know we started late, and kick it over to Councilmember Banks, who's been a solid partner in the council on this. So.
Thank you.
Got one. I'm gonna give this to you.
One is working? Okay, here we go. Thank you to Councilmember Nurse, and good night, everyone. Thank you for coming out. First of all, let's thank the community board for helping to organize this, and just say that this is important for our community. And we want to thank land use as well for coming out and being a part of this. I want to begin by, first of all, thanking you, the people, for coming out tonight. As many of you know, this year's general election is quickly approaching, and with early voting starting tomorrow, and while most folks are going to be voting on the mayor's race, they're going to be voting on the other citywide elected offices, it's important that they turn the ballot around and look at the questions. I want to be very clear. The voting that we are talking about it's about 6 ballot questions and our concern are about 2, 3, 4, and 5. I want to be very clear. These proposed ballot questions are being presented in a way that will speed up, quote unquote, speed up or streamline the process for building affordable housing. That's what they're saying. And while it might look great to the naked eye, what's not being said is what every member of the community board will be left out. Every council member will be snatched from the process, and you will lose your voice. Where it gets to, where we're talking about what we want to build, how it impacts us as a community. Right now, community boards, local residents, and your elected council members all have a seat at the table. Together, we come and we negotiate community benefits agreements to make sure that when development happens in our neighborhoods, it begins with something that will come back to our community, something that we want. Here's what it looks like when we negotiate and when this power we have is in place. We're able to negotiate workforce development opportunities, community centers, parking spaces, local hiring, investments in our schools and small businesses. And if these ballot questions pass, all that power, your power, will be handed over to a small group of appointed individuals who in most cases don't live here, don't walk our blocks, and don't understand the challenges that we face here in the 42nd and the 37th Council District. And let's be honest, we fought a long, long time, too hard for our voices to be silenced and to be lost, to lose control of our neighborhoods. We're not against development, but we are for responsible development that reflects the character of our neighborhoods and serves the people who actually live here. And that means asking the right questions about the type of housing being built. Some of the questions: is it truly affordable for families who live here? Does it include senior housing, home ownership opportunities, long-term affordability? Those are the questions, and a plethora of other questions that we feel to ask. But because when we lose local input, we lose the ability to demand those things, and once that power is gone, it's likely gone for good. Tonight is about awareness and making sure that everyone here understands what is at stake. We are fighting for our life. And before stepping into the voting booth, we gotta let folks know, vote no. Vote no. Vote no. No is universal. And we're saying no to these ballot proposals. The concerns that I think most residents have, and which is being borne out with the frustrations of the lack of affordable housing, the lack of having access to affordable housing, those can be dealt with. There's a process in place already. There's a ULUP process in place, which is a layered process that allows residents, allows different layers of our communities to weigh in. And I know some folks may say, oh, well, member deference. And there are council members that are standing in the way of building more affordable housing, that there are communities who don't have housing developments built in their communities, or stopping the progress of building more affordable housing. But I think the council has shown over and over again that there are checks and balances that exist, right? I believe we just had a stated meeting, I think a couple of weeks back, where we overrode 2 council member projects. Councilmember Simca, there was a senior housing project to build senior housing. Council said, no, this is something that we want to support. This is something that benefits the whole entire community, the whole entire city, building more senior housing. We overrode that, council member. Member deference is not absolute. There was a project in Councilmember Marmorato's district. It was for supportive housing, right? A district that probably has no supportive housing. We overrode it because it was a good project. We wanted to support it. It was for people formerly incarcerated folks who were coming back home, and it's set up like kind of like a hospice to assist those folks who possibly are having their last days. We overrode that, council member, right? So there are things that are in place, there are checks and balances that it exists, and to put it straight, the council has approved close to 93% of land use applications that have come through the council. So this is a power grab. This is a power grab to extricate your voice out of the process and to make it where you have this unelected group of people who are not connected to our community dictate to us how our community should look. And we say, hell no, and we say it loud and clear. We will not allow this. And how we do that? We go to the polls and we vote. We spread the word. This is about a rallying call to everyone who has a neighbor, church. Vote no. Vote no. And also, too, guys, I don't want you to be confused as well with the 6 ballot questions that are on the ballot. There are 3 other questions. One deals with expanding, bringing in line voting, the election day with the federal elections, right? And that's another ballot question that obviously you should read and pay attention to. I'm voting no on that. Also, too, there's another ballot question on the ballot that deals with, I believe it's digitizing the city maps. We're going to lose union jobs if we support that measure. I'm voting no on that. So this is a plethora of ballot questions that are going to devastate our community and snatch away your voice. So again, guys, we're reminding you, and again, land use is going to come up and give a more in-depth explanation as to why we should not support these ballot questions. And I just want you to soak it all in, to take this information back. We have early voting starts tomorrow. A lot of our folks are not going to early vote. We know folks are comfortable with going to the polling sites that they're used to go, that they want to go to, that they're designated to go to. So we want folks to please engage. If you can text, if you can go on social media, spread the word, let them know we are not supporting these ballot questions. We're not. All right, guys, thank you. And we'll now turn it over to land use.
Thank you, council member, and thank you for those that came out, especially on a Friday night. I know it's tough, but yeah, as both council members said, it's a real important issue. By the way, I love this. I've never seen this before. You guys are pretty cool. So my name is Paris Trotter. I work for the director of the Planning and Land Use Division at City Council, and we work on all land use matters that come before the City Council. We're staffed to the Land Use Committee and associated subcommittees. So I'm not going to go into super detail because I think people seem to kind of just understand what this is already, but just in case you have questions and in case folks have heard other information, because of course there's a campaign to support these measures, I want to provide some information about each one so that you have the full information. So I think everybody is familiar with the ULURP process. Zoning is basically what we're talking about with the ULURP process here. And zoning controls how big a building can be, what kind of building it can be, and in some cases, whether that building, how affordable that building is. So it's very important to our communities. And what these ballot proposals are about is changing, basically creating pathways to change zoning that do not involve the local council member or city council anymore. Next slide. So, and the council member said, we didn't update our number. We just approved thousands of more units in Jamaica, so that's why the council member had a higher number. We didn't update that. But we've approved over 140,000 units just since 2022, this council. And this council has been the most pro-housing council of any council, and yet the mayor is basically putting these ballot proposals out to take away the city council's power, and by extension, local communities' power in this process. But the process, just go back for a second, the process works. We've approved great projects that are where we're building a lot of housing. If you go downtown Brooklyn, just south of downtown Brooklyn and Gowanus, they're building a lot of housing. Well, the administration, of course, this was the past administration, they wanted to build that housing, but the local council member there in that neighborhood made sure that they had proper infrastructure. So things like schools, parks, improving streets. And that's really the role that the city council members play in this process. Also, for that particular rezoning, it was really important that they invested in that local NYCHA campus. So he got $200 million for that local NYCHA. Similarly, a more recent example, the Hudson Yards project in Manhattan, they wanted to do a casino. The council member was okay with the project, but was like, no way can there be a casino. So he was able to remove the casino from the project and double the amount of affordable housing that was part of that project. Next slide. Okay, so just to go into a little more details, there's 3 ballot questions I'm talking about that affect the ULURP process. The second ballot question, because there's 6. These are questions 2, 3, 4. So the second ballot question 2, has 2 parts. And again, it's labeled Fast Track for Affordable Housing. This particular one is really supposed to be about affordable housing. It lets the BSA, the Board of Standards of Appeals, be the decider about any rezoning that's about affordable housing. The concern we have with it is affordable is not defined. What is affordable? Technically, under this law, affordable can be up to 165% AMI. That's $200,000 for an individual. Or no, that's right. That's two-person household. $200,000. You know, that doesn't sound like a household that needs help, in my opinion. Secondly, it's not for 100% affordable. It's just partly affordable. Could be any percentage. There's not a minimum percentage of affordability. And then finally, they say that it's publicly subsidized. There's no requirement in this law that these projects receive public subsidy. So the problem with this is not only that are you eliminating the local council member's voice and the local community's voice, but this could allow projects that really are not good for communities, particularly in low-income and moderate-income communities where we need more truly, deeply affordable housing. Next slide. The second part of this fast track for affordable housing. So this is basically, it's a different type of fast track. This is for communities that haven't been doing their part. So, you know, Community Board 5, you guys have produced, you're in the top, I think 5, yeah, you're in the top 5 community districts across the city for how much affordable housing you've produced. You'll never be in this category, but some of your neighbors will be. So Community Board 10 in Queens, Community Board 18 in Brooklyn. So some of your neighbors live in communities that, you know, they haven't done as much affordable housing, and in some ways that makes sense, right? Because of the way that those communities are built, they should do more. But what this does is it takes away the council members, the city council's part of the process, so that the City Planning Commission can now make all the decision as to whether a rezoning is appropriate. And basically it could be any kind of rezoning. It could be mainly market rate rezoning. It could be, you know, there's no limit on size or scale or anything. Next slide. So these are the communities that would be affected by this proposal across the city. Next slide. So ballot question 3. Ballot question 3 is about providing an expedited path for what they're calling minor increases in density. And they define minor increases in density as anything up to 30% increase. It's like almost a third bigger a building. Some people might not consider that minor. I would say it's minor. This is the problem, though. Next slide. So these, and I forget exactly where these images are, I apologize, but they're both from Brooklyn. There are plenty of Brooklyn communities, parts of East New York included, but particularly Brownsville, Flatbush, Crown Heights, and like I said, parts of East New York, where the zoning is R6, but it's just small homes. Much of the Nehemiah homes, both in East New York and in Brownsville, are zoned R6. R6 currently allows 9-story buildings, but that's not what's there. Fortunately, no one's been tearing down these homes, but the question is, if you now have a path that doesn't involve the local council member, for you to go from 9 stories to 14 stories in some cases. Again, the reason that it's complicated here is that R6 doesn't have a height limit. So even though it's only 30% density increase, the height could be much more. So you can get buildings like this. This building is in Flatbush on Linden Boulevard, if anyone knows that area. People don't like that building. You can start permitting big buildings like this in our home ownership communities, and it's a threat on home ownership. So that's the problem with this proposal. Next slide. Now, there's not many single-family areas in Community Board 5, but there is a few. In Cypress Hills, for instance. Those single-family and two-family areas that are zoned that way don't allow multifamily buildings because, we're trying to preserve, these low-density communities so people can have, God forbid they have the American dream of a house with a white picket fence in the front and, backyard, right? Not everybody wants that, but for where it exists, some people want it. This allows the zoning to go from that to small multifamily buildings. And again, the local city council member won't be included. The city planning commission will be making that decision. And the city planning commission has only denied a few applications in the last 15 years, just a few. Next slide. So what's going to happen, in my opinion, is that buildings like this could become more common. These buildings happen to be as of right because of kind of zoning particularities in those areas. But again, if you don't have the local council member empowered by the local community to right-size development, you're going to get tall and out-of-scale buildings in our neighborhoods. Next slide. Finally, question 4. Question 4, they say it's an Affordable Housing Appeals Board. Well, it's true, the appeals board only has jurisdiction if there's some affordable housing, but it's only some. Most of the application or the building could be market rate luxury housing. And what this appeals board has the right to do is that it'll still go to the city council, the application, but they then can override the city council's vote. And the appeals board is consistent of the mayor, the borough president, and the speaker of the city council. And so that doesn't include the local council member who is closest to the local community. Next slide. So I'm going to skip this one. You all know about the Jewel Streets plan. What this could do is that those 3 people could override Councilmember Banks' vote on this plan. And, that's simply just not right. I mean, neighborhood plans should really be led by the local council member who knows the local community the best. Yeah.
It's not just they can override it, so they could move forward a rezoning plan without all of the extra things that they got outside of just the basic rezoning, right? So if you have a project and you're getting a new school because there's a ton of new people coming in, or you're getting a commitment for more funding for park maintenance because the park is now going to be utilized more people, that board can say, no, we're going to move the rezoning forward, but we don't have to carry all of these things that you negotiated with it.
Yeah, thank you for that, council member. Yeah, all the things we talked about in terms of infrastructure, schools, parks, community benefits, the things that neighborhoods need, especially when more people are coming into the community, that's what the local council member negotiates. And that could be at risk because those things might not be a priority for the borough president. And I could tell you that sometimes they're certainly not a priority for the mayor. So that's the concern. So this is the last slide. I'll take questions on the ballot proposals if folks have them. Yeah, no, it's, so this did go through a public process. The way that the rules around the charter are put is that either the mayor or the city council or both together can form a charter revision commission. The mayor went and formed his own charter revision commission. He appointed all his people. What happened in December, they started their work in January, and it went very quickly. They have usually 2 years to do this. They took 6 months, less than 6 months actually, and they didn't put out these proposals until the end of June, and then they voted on them in the beginning of July. It was, it was a really bad process, and it was kind of obvious that they did not want the community involved before these went on the ballot. But yeah, the mayor has the power to do that and put these on the ballot. Okay, I mean, it's not that overly complicated, right? I mean, I tried to not do the technical stuff, but it's kind of simple, right? We just need to, educate all of our neighbors about what's going on. Well, thank you.
Just an announcement of, if I can find it. Oh yeah, I think I have it. There we go. So anybody also who wants to come out, there's going to be a rally, a stand up, take a stand and flip the ballot. It's actually going to be a press conference that is being organized by the New York City Council, particularly the Black Caucus, and it's going to be on Wednesday, October 29th at 11 a.m. on the steps of City Hall. So make sure if you can come out and lend your voice to as we say united collectively that we are not supporting these ballot questions, and educate our community on what these ballot questions, the devastating effects they'll have on our community. So please, guys, that's Wednesday, October 29th at 11 a.m. on the steps of City Hall. Please come on out. Thank you.
Awesome. I just want to say if you all could post about this online for the next 2 weeks, I think we can share around some graphics and stuff. And the New York City Council social media has some graphics and videos. So if you could reshare those through your networks, that would be really important. And I think it's important to know that no matter what happens in November, I'll maybe get a little bit ahead and just say that the council is going to try to figure out what we can do to hold the next administration accountable, because the next administration, has a role to play here to fix this a little bit and make sure that community voices and the recommendations and inputs that you all have on projects actually move forward. So we're committed to staying together. Like, just because if this happens doesn't mean that this is over. It just means that we have to step it up and be more vigilant. And so as much as you can share, that would be helpful. And there's some flyers, there's mailers that have been sent out by the council, but if you all could do your best to like put it in the group chats that you're in and things like that, that would be helpful. Also, this is like the fastest CB5 process I've ever been in. Like, yeah, what a night.
I just wanted to also add on
This is right.
the co-chair speech. I'm sorry. Oh. Before the co-chair Odessa Finn speaks, I just want to also let everyone know that this is being recorded, obviously, and we will be sharing the video on CB5-ENY. So please share that YouTube video as well with this full comprehensive explanation.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. Thank you, council members, for coming out. And thank you for the presentation and taking questions on behalf of the community. My name is Odessa Finn, as been said already. I'm a new co-chair for the Land Use and Housing Committee. I am also a midwife. And in my practice, reproductive health and housing are interconnected. If you have no place to live, you have nowhere to raise your family, to grow yourself, you cannot have wellness. So this committee is very near and dear to my heart, so I'm very excited to be joining as a co-chair. In terms of the ballot measures, we will also be, as a community board, posting to our YouTube channel some reels with explanations about the ballot measures, because there have been some deceptive literature out there. I was surprised to see something on the Board of Election site that was kind of like, So we want to make sure that we're informing our neighbors and that the information is clear. Sharing this in your community, encouraging people to vote. I've spoken to a number of people that didn't even know what a ballot measure was. I also didn't know what a ballot measure was until a few years ago, that it was the terms that throw people off. They can understand things when we explain them to them in a straight, clear way, but when there's some education to be had, there can be some gaps. So this content is meant to help us to better engage, to help people to see why it's so important to come out. There is a presentation made before our committee, which our meetings are the third Tuesday of every month. You're more than welcome to come. We had some community members that came out to our meeting this past week and asked some very, very in-depth questions to the presenters that kind of stumbled them and put them on their heels. They had to come back to us with answers. So please feel free to come to any of our meetings, the third Tuesday of every month. But the process, as it has been outlined for you, is extremely, extremely, extremely important, not only to, and I'm going to speak from a point of health just for a moment, not only because we've been here, and deserve to stay here and be able to afford to be here. And when our children go away and come back from college, they should be able to stay here too. Home ownership certainly should be an option for us to build some generational and legacy, some wealth. But also when we lose those kinship relationships from the small mom and pop shops, when we lose that neighbor that we grew up with that lives down the block, when we lose that familiarity with the people in our community, it does impact our health, because we're kind of going it alone. I mean, data and research has shown that when we have strong networks of support, it does improve community health. So when we deliberate on the projects that come before the Land Use and Housing Committee, we're considering the texture and the fabric of the community and the longevity of the community from even a point of health, if you can imagine that. So I'm gonna stop talking because I can talk forever. Thank you so much for coming out. I'm gonna turn it back over to Board Member Ro Johnson.
I would absolutely agree with everything the co-chair of Land Use, Odessa Finn, just said. As a member of the Land Use Committee, being robbed of that power or just that agency over our day-to-day lives it's disrespectful. So we got to vote. Are there any other questions while the council members are here that are relevant to this topic? All right, on that note, I think, or for the land use of city council? No, on that note, I think we can adjourn, which is very disorienting for, because CB5, we be having marathons. Oh, wait a minute, I would like our chair, Alice Lowman, to close us out, because I can't be the one to do that. We don't have any more questions. Nobody else had any more questions or comments?
Excuse me for not being here. We had one of our board members that's in a wheelchair that was trying to get in the building, and the lift is not working again. So I went downstairs to see if we can facilitate that. I'll be speaking with our elected officials. That's what, right. So Ms. Pugh's downstairs, the lift is not fixed, and you know, it's a whole community of people that's disabled, and this is supposed to be an ADA building, so it is just not right that certain people can't come to meetings that's important. She hasn't been able to come upstairs in 3 years. So if we don't have a meeting in the aviation room where they do their committee meetings, or the gym, she can't partake. So we will be working with our elected officials, and hopefully we don't have to go back to the news, because the last time we had Channel 2 out here, but the next time we'll have Channel 2 and a row of wheelchairs so that they can get the message. It's not one person that's affected, it is a whole community that's affected. With that being said, with that being said, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Councilmember Sandy Nurse, Councilmember Chris Banks, Ms. Lucas' office, Mr. DeLon's office, and as you all know, I am Alice Lowman, the proud chair of CB5. Thank you to the community. And Michelle from Cypress Hills. What are we going to do when we don't have Michelle? Okay? So I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight to this meeting on a Friday night. Let's just spread the word. All right? Thank you. Good night. God bless.